Welcome to this explainer. You know, history isn't always written by meticulous planners or people who know exactly what they're looking for. Honestly, sometimes the most earth-shattering, mind-blowing discoveries happen completely by accident, usually when people are looking for something else entirely. It's like finding a literal treasure chest when you're just trying to find your lost car keys. So today we're exploring how sheer serendipity has completely rewritten our history books. We'll be looking at 4 monumental ancient secrets that were stumbled upon completely by chance.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we're going to look at an ancient hunt hidden in a lake. Then, we'll check out the oldest ship of the deep sea. After that, we'll talk about a millions of years old living fish. And finally, we'll wrap up with the Terracotta Army's terrifying discovery.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Ancient Hunt Hidden in Lake, focusing on Dr. Hawley's 2007 Lake Michigan search.
So, picture this. It's 2007, and archaeologist Dr. Mark Hawley is scanning the freezing, deep waters of Lake Michigan, right? He's looking for a shipwreck, normal stuff. But instead, his sonar picks up this massive, perfectly straight, 1-mile-long line of stones that ends in a perfect circle in a deep trench. Now, you really have to ask yourself, what on earth were these perfectly straight lines doing under the water? I mean, nature simply doesn't build like that. When he actually suited up in scuba gear and dove down, he saw they were very clearly hand-placed right there on the sandy bottom. When the news broke, people went absolutely wild. The media was calling it an underwater Stonehenge. But Dr. Hawley knew the real secret was in that 1-mile straight line. The true, incredibly practical purpose of this whole thing actually wasn't revealed until 2009, when anthropologist John O'Shea published a paper on identical lines found a few hundred miles away in Lake Huron.
And here is exactly what those lines were. They were an ancient trap. Thousands of years ago, hunters built these as drive lines. You see, the native populations hunted caribou, and caribou have this very specific, kind of funny quirk. They instinctively follow straight lines and paths. They just follow the line. So these clever ancient hunters built these long stone walls to perfectly guide the animals right into that stone circle. The deep trench behind the circle, that acted as a dead end, no escape. The hunters would literally just hide behind the stones and wait for the caribou to walk right to them. It was a remarkably brilliant, incredibly efficient hunting trap, just sitting hidden underwater for millennia. Really reminds you just how resourceful our ancestors truly were, doesn't it?
Let's move to our next accidental discovery. Section 2, Oldest Ship of Deep Sea, uncovered during the 2023 Mediterranean oil search.
Fast forward to the year 2023. A British oil company is out on the vast Mediterranean Sea, about 55 miles off the coast of Israel. They're doing a totally routine search for oil fields, sending this highly advanced robotic vehicle down a literal mile into pitch black water. At first, the cameras are just showing ordinary, boring sand. But then, the engineers spot this weird mound. And it definitely wasn't a natural rock. It was a massive pile of hundreds of ancient clay pots. They immediately called in the Israeli Antiquities Authority. And using specialized cameras, they realized these pots, which likely carried stuff like olive oil, agricultural goods, or wine, were actually blanketing the remarkably preserved remains of a 40-foot-long ancient shipwreck.
So, the crucial point here, the thing that really blew everyone's minds, is this staggering number, 3,300. Using some really delicate equipment to extract the pots, researchers carbon dated them and found out they were 3,300 years old. That makes this the absolute oldest deepwater shipwreck ever discovered in human history. No contest.
This discovery completely shatters our previous timelines of human capability. Think about it. The Mediterranean isn't some small pond. It spans 1 million square miles and it whips up incredibly dangerous extreme wave conditions. The fact that sailors 3,000 years ago were successfully navigating these treacherous open water environments, it proves they possessed highly advanced navigation technology far beyond what modern science previously gave them credit for. It fundamentally rewrites our understanding of ancient maritime history. And the craziest part, it was all found just because someone was out there looking for oil.
All right, shifting gears from history to biology for Section 3, millions of years old living fish, found during a 1938 South African fishing trip.
Picture a freezing cold morning in December 1938. A local South African fisherman is pulling up his net, and right there, mixed in with his usual catch, is something completely alien. It's this bizarre, glowing blue fish with 4 rigid, fleshy legs. In his 30 years on the water, he had never seen anything even remotely like it. So he brings it to the fish experts, and you guys, they were completely speechless. Why? Because of the number you see right now, 65 million. This creature was a coelacanth. And according to literally every science book in the world at the time, the coelacanth went extinct 65 million years ago. We're talking wiped out by the exact same asteroid strike that killed the T-Rex.
I mean, just walk through this impossible timeline with me for a second. The Coelacanth first shows up in the fossil record 400 million years ago. Then, in the soil layers marking 65 million years ago, the fossils just completely stop. Done. Not a single trace anywhere in the world after that. Science confidently closed the book on them. Until 1938, when a fisherman quite literally pulled a living, breathing fossil out of the ocean. It just goes to show how much of our own planet's deep oceans are still a complete and utter mystery to us.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why this fish is considered practically an alien. Take a normal fish, right? They've got delicate, flexible fins and they lay eggs. The coelacanth? Not so much. It has 4 fins made of actual flesh and bone, and it alternates them to move through the water, kind of like how a horse walks. It's also the only living creature with a jointed skull, which lets it hinge its entire upper jaw backward to swallow massive prey whole. Oh, and it gives live birth. It even has this crazy unique rostral organ near its nose to detect faint electric waves, letting it hunt in absolute pitch blackness without even needing to see.
But honestly, the most fascinating and maybe the funniest detail about this guy is its head composition. Just look at this breakdown. 99% of the coelacanth skull is filled with pure fat. Literally, 99%. Only 1% of the space is actually used for its tiny little grain. But hey, it's not just to be funny. This thick layer of fat is actually a phenomenal evolutionary trick designed to protect its body and brain from the crushing pressure of the deep sea. Pretty smart for a 1% brain, right?
Finally, we arrive at Section 4, Terracotta Army's terrifying discovery, which takes us to the 1974 drought in Seong, China.
This is probably our most dramatic accidental discovery, and it was triggered by desperate farmers who are simply digging for a well. The region was gripped by a devastating drought, crops were completely drying up. So a farmer named Yang Zhifa is digging, and about 15 feet down into the earth, his shovel strikes something hard. He clears away the dirt, and staring right back at him from the darkness are the eyes of a clay head. He brings it up to the village, but instead of celebrating, sheer panic sets in. You see, the local villagers held a very deep, terrifying superstition. Statues emerging from the earth is a bad omen. They truly believed it would bring ruin to their homes. And tragically, in a way, their fears came true. Once the Chinese government got wind of the find, they initiated a massive excavation. Eventually, they seized the farmers' lands and displaced the entire village to build a museum.
Because what the government ultimately found under that farmland was absolutely staggering. They didn't just find a few old statues. No, they found over 8,000 of them. This was the legendary Terracotta Army, an entire immortal battalion commissioned by China's very first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, to physically protect him in the afterlife.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the unbelievable scale of the craftsmanship. Out of those 8,000 plus soldiers, there are no duplicates. Not a single one. Every individual soldier has a completely unique face, a unique hairstyle, and a customized uniform. Plus, they weren't just holding fake clay props. They were equipped with real, deadly bronze weapons. A simple, desperate search for a sip of water during a drought ended up uncovering one of the most massive and valuable archaeological discoveries in the history of the world.
Which brings us to the end of today's explainer, and leaves us with this final, burning question. We've seen how accidental detectives, a thirsty farmer, an everyday fisherman, a sonar operator looking for a modern shipwreck, or engineers just hunting for oil, how they can completely rewrite what we know about human history and the natural world. If all of this was found purely by chance, what else is hiding right beneath our feet, or deep in the dark waters of our oceans, at this very moment, just waiting to be accidentally discovered?